information. No, we don't even need to dive into that. It's been talked about over and over again. On a smaller scale, it's a great time for small business, especially small business that has an artistic flair. I believe astrology falls in that category, especially since Uranus is the planet ruling astrology. And it is challenging that Pluto and Capricorn, that status quo. Those of us doing this work, if you're not feeling the pressure to break out and do something more than, in my case, going from business suit, even on my website, the business suit stuff, to I'm moving to more flowy.
But keep the business thing. That's a good. It's something that people who are not accustomed to going to astrologers, it makes it more accessible to them because they're not.
I had this double Gemini, this high metabolism woman. I mean, she just she's practically shaking just because she
double Gemini.
High metabolism. Shows up for her session with me. She was referred. She looks me up and down, and of course, anytime someone looks you up and down, you get a little insecure. Like, what's the judgment being passed? And I look her in the eyes, and she goes, "Thank God you look normal."
Right.
And I thought, why wouldn't I be? She's like, I didn't know if you're going to have some cape or cloak or a crystal ball.
Right.
Seriously? That perception is still being held of people that practice astrology specifically. I mean, okay, I'll give you the even psychic mediums. I don't feel like that perception's holding, but I've been out of the mainstream for so long.
It is. It's when you're outside the mainstream. Sometimes you have to go back into it to realize just how far off the reservation of consensual reality that you have wandered.
Right.
Then you go back in, and you're like, oh wow, it is consensual. The mainstream reality is. I really went far off the deep end there.
Yeah.
And,
I have those moments, so I don't really care for them. I like being in my mental and physical and manifest a reality bubble. I'm pretty pleased.
One thing that I am going to try to do to get around that perception is this won't be for a couple months that we're going to start doing these, is shooting videos. And because when people see you in video, they can see, oh, this person dresses normal. I'll be looking professional. I have a couple of my attorney suits I'll be wearing, and either interviewing other folks locally or, not just astrologers, but other healing modalities. And then part of that is just because it seems like it'll probably be a fun thing to do. But then also then that'll go up on the site, and then people will be like, oh, they'll watch that video. I'm like, oh, he looks like a normal person. He dresses like a normal person and talks, in clear language. His eyes haven't rolled up in the back of his head and doesn't have a body experience as he's channeling something from, the fifth dimension or whatever. But,
and I hope this is something that you're actively working on now with the Uranus-Pluto square. I mean, that is a perfect, in my opinion, expression of that with the Uranus, the rebellious and revolutionary and charismatic and shocking and striking energy, challenging that status quo in order to transform it, but yet still maintaining the business suit and the lawyer persona along with it. I mean, I think that's a beautiful expression.
I hadn't thought about it that way. I just thought about I just wanted to get my cell phone, Leo rising. I just wanted to get my cell phone camera. But thank you. Yes.
You've got that Venus. I mean, I've got that first house Venus too, but yours is in Leo. Wow.
Yeah, but Saturn's right there too, so it kind of restrains it. Actually what happened, I'd been thinking about how to use a Venus Saturn, not a conjunction, but it's it's they're in shouting distance of each other. And I thought to myself, I thought that would make a good acting coach, actually. Not something I've ever looked into, but as somebody who's going to work really hard at performing in front of camera. And the few times I have performed or had to give public speaking, I really did put a lot of Saturnian preparation into it. And, of course, Saturn's leadership. And I thought, well, I can maybe plan this all out and organize it, and then I'll benefit, and then other folks will benefit from it, too, because they'll get to be seen on video, and people, potential clients might dig that. Be like, oh, wow, they seem really nice.
Absolutely. And it goes back to that Aries moon of yours at the top of the chart. I mean, yeah, you have the ability for wonderful public influence, and having the Venus and Leo the first house, easy on the eyes on top of it.
Oh, thank you.
Say go for it.
Well, the other thing was the Libra, the Libra North Node. That's what, in my astrological philosophy, kind of trumps everything. So Libra North Node is always doing things with others. And so, or with another person. I thought, well, let's see, Don Cornelius. This was my bizarre way of thinking, logicking it all out. Like, well, let's see, Don Cornelius was a Libra, and he was always interviewing people on Soul Train. So maybe I'll do like astrology, and I'll be interviewing people kind of like Don Cornelius did, but it'll be astrology, not soul music.
That's great.
So that was the thinking more than but yeah, the other things would play in too. Yeah. So, anyways, but back to the Uranus Pluto square and. What does it mean for people, particularly like in this area? Not too many people up in the high finance. It's more people a little closer to the earth. Well, some people have their heads in the sky too, but you got more the goddess economy. There is more of an emerging goddess economy, as you said on the last show, out here than the vampire economy. So for folks in the goddess economy, what would this mean?
Well, that goes back to our discussion in the first half about, in my personal case, feelings on taking money. I don't like taking money. I don't mind receiving money at all, but I don't like taking it. So that kind of goes from the vampire, like you're saying, the taking, to the goddess, which is more the giving, receiving notion. And I think, as a culture, we have to, on a smaller individual scale, there's the Uranus and Aries, take a leadership within our own lives to work our finances in such a manner. May it be bartering, may it be using service as the currency, but we're seeing it. If you haven't noticed, and I would think most people that listen to you, Matt, are aware that our current financial system is past broken, and really there's no value to the U.S. dollar at this point. And so what do we do? What do we do, as we shift and are guided by our leadership in a particular fashion? There's that, control, obsession, and power, the Pluto in Capricorn-ness. How do we break free of that? And it is being of service. It is making service a currency, or offering payment versus someone taking payment for you. And do you follow where I'm going?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Another question that ties along with this is, there is, for folks who are paying attention really, really closely, this is not a big shock, but for folks who are now noticing what, that things have really shifted and what's going on, do you encounter this where folks, let's say they're in their 30s, so they're approximately our age, or they're about the careers, and even people much younger, but the careers that they envisioned when they were much younger, when they were kids or teenagers or even in college, those careers are either not available or they've severely contracted. And people are psychologically, do you find that people are psychologically having trouble making that transition? Like, there's the survival component, how are you going to pay the mortgage or the rent and pay for food, but the psychological component that we're not going back to whatever we were doing before.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that we program, and by we I mean a collective people at the top of the food chain running the media and things like that, program us from early ages that this is how things are and they will remain that way, because that's the biggest falsehood in human existence, because everything, as we know, as being astrologers, everything's constantly moving. It's the bizarre paradigm to think that, how it is today is how it's always going to be, we can use examples going back to our parents didn't have television, and when they did, it was black and white, and they had like 2 channels. And they saw the Beatles, and that was like the big entertainment. And now here we are currently with our handheld wireless media. We can watch anything we want, whenever we want, appropriate or not. I mean, just those shifts in our lifetime, Matt, is incredible. But yeah, the psychology of that. There are people are going to struggle during this time, and that was predicted. That psychologically struggling beyond the finances, and those are all the contributing factors. Goes back to that Uranus in Aries. It's time to use the electricity in the air, so to speak, to be your own warrior. Step out, get creative, and lead in your own life. Therefore, other people will follow suit. You know, it only takes a handful of people to step out and disagree with something or lead in a way to get others to pay attention and start moving in that direction as well.
Okay, now for
well, I was going to say art. And we know this from psychology that the difference between those in poverty and those in wealth is art.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Those in wealth invest in art. Because they invest in art, people in poverty invest in entertainment. People in wealth invest in art. So people in wealth investing in art are like your movie producers and the people with the art galleries supporting the big-time artists, things like that, and investing in those pieces that only increase in this value, and then they're selling it to the people in poverty who, you know, live paycheck to paycheck and just want to have a little fun, so they blow all their money to go to the movie that the wealthy produce. Do you see what I'm saying there?
Now let's say somebody is living paycheck to paycheck or really, really struggling. Could when you say invest in art, could that include things like investing in a piece of art that, you know, your friend made with, you know, things they found out in nature? Could they then access that energy without, even if they don't have any money, you know, maybe they don't even have any money in their name at all, but would they be able to access that energetic process via other artistic investments?
Investing in true art, Matt, this is from a psychology perspective. Investing in real art over entertainment, so a painting over movie and cocktails type of thing, will energetically increase your status. It may not increase the money in the bank account, but it starts increasing your status. And when you start increasing your status, you start networking with people of money, and therefore that ball continues rolling. Do you see where I'm going?
Oh, absolutely. So let's say, for instance, I went to acupressure school twice, although I never completely finished my thing. Could I barter? Because I would get too busy talking about astrology with people. But could I, let's say somebody like myself, if I had actually finished that, would I be able to then, or I guess astrological consultation could be bartered too, but barter acupressure or astrology session for if somebody is a good artist but if the person if let's say I didn't want to spend money, not that I don't, but if I didn't, would you say that offering to invest a hour astrology session or acupressure session in exchange for a piece of art would be a way of tapping into this?
Yes, I would. Yes. Art is priceless, and therefore can hold a lot of long-term value. And your social circles change when you start moving towards a paradigm of art versus entertainment.
Right. Also,
there's a fine line. There's a fine line in what those two are.
Right.
So when it's recognized, your social circles shift, and therefore you're exposed to people that actually are holding wealth, and that can shift your entire life.
Right. So,
and let's look at it this way too, Matt. Just from a spiritual perspective, art is that sort of invaluable, priceless beauty. It's an expression of spirit, and yeah. So even let's forget the money, the dollar signs of it, and just look at it in those terms.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, just because I'm thinking about art, Taurus, art, appreciation, value, worth, and all the themes kind of tie together. And, you know, if you get in the habit of appreciating things such as art, that generally, you know, people who appreciate things are generally a little easier to be around than people who are nasty. And if you're in the habit of appreciating beautiful things, then perhaps more beauty will come into your life, whether it's in the form of, it doesn't necessarily be in the form of money, but it can just be beautiful experiences and beautiful people with beautiful souls and so on and so forth. So
indeed, and then that can shift into the chakras. Higher chakras are going to be art driven. Lower chakras are going to be greed, sexually driven. So, and when we're operating lower chakra, that's where we're getting the playboys. That's where we're getting, the vampires, financial vampires, things like that. The higher is going to be an appreciation for nature and art.
Great. So we actually have Chris is, Chris Brennan.
I love Chris Brennan.
He's coming on. He may be calling in right now. So that is actually a great place to end it in terms of, particularly from somebody who's it was in corporate finance, is now in astrology and psychology, how to invest in the emerging goddess economy. One of those ways being investing in art. So we'll probably have to wrap it up right there. And
well, Matt, thank you so much. You'll be coming on my show.
That's right.
The Heather Horton Hour very, very soon.
By the way, the fact that you scheduled that 4 months in advance, that got me scheduling people. I had been scheduling people like 2 days in advance. Now, so Aries moon, and I thought, wow, Heather schedules people 4 months in advance. I got to be more Capricornian, more Saturnian like Heather, and get it 4 months in advance. So I'm
booked. I'm booked until November now.
Oh wow!
So you better catch up.
Yeah, I'm only into August. So.
Chris Brennan will be coming on my show. I'm on